All right, guys, so this is going to be a little bit straightforward. I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. I'm going to do 1 and 2, 3 in detail, and then I'm going to do the rest a little bit faster. All right, so we have number 1, and I'm going to do that over here. The first thing I'm going to do is create a tiny table. Now, I don't really use this formula. You can if you want. I like creating a tiny table, so that's just how I do it. So I do 20, -3, 19, and I have -20. Then I ask myself, what is the change here? How am I getting from -3 to -20? And I know that it would be -17 because -3 minus 17 equals -20. And now how do I get from 20 to 19? And I know that'll be -1. So my change in y is going to be -17. And my change in x is going to be -1, which simplifies down to 17. So for my first square, I'm going to color 17. And obviously, I want to backtrack. What we're doing for each of these questions is we're finding the slope. So for every ordered pair, table, graph, written scenario, finding the slope for each. All right. Now I'm going to do number 2. Now, this one I'm also going to do it by hand because it's important, and sometimes by hand is faster. In this case, it is. And that's going to be -5, 11, 0, and 7. And the change here, I'm going from -11 to -7 would be -4. And the change here would be +5. So my change in y is -4. My change in x is 5. So my slope is going to be -4/5. So that would be my answer. Okay, now let's get to number 3. So number 3, I'm going to set up my tiny table, stack the numbers. Very important. We have -20, 9. Sorry, that's a 0. And then I have 14 and 9. And what I notice is that I have repeating y values. So what would that look like? So I know it's a function because the x values aren't repeating, but the y values are repeating. So for me, just to double check it, I'm going to get my calculator and I'm going to do stat edit in my calculator. So I'm going to grab my calculator, I'm going to press stat, enter. And when you get like these little funky tables that it's harder to do change in y, change in x, it's good to get your calculator out. You have it to check your work. So it'll be -20, 14, and then I'm going to go across, and then we have 9 and 9. So then I do stat. I go over to calc. I press 4, enter, 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 enter. And I see my slope is 0, okay? So that just means this was 0 here. Let me get a different color. This was 0. And then this was plus 34. So any number 0 over 34 is still going to be 0, okay? Still going to equal 0. So therefore 0 is the slope here, okay? Goodness gracious. All right, and then we have 4 xy, 12, -1, -2, -3. Here, it's going to be -2. And then here, it's going to be -14. So I have my change in y, which is -2. My change in x, which is -14. And that will simplify down to 1 over 7. And that will be my slope. So that's what I'm going to color in. Keep going. We're going to be here. 2, positive 2. And then here would be plus 12. 2 over 12 turns to 1 over 6. That would be my slope. Now here, so some of the strategies I want to tell you guys is I think about 0 as my middle. So I'm going from negative 11 to 0, that'll be 11 points up. And then we're going 7 more points, so this whole thing is going to add to 18. Okay, so I'm just going to explain my thinking. This one, not so much. So I know if I add 10 to 17, it'll be 17. So 1 less than 10 will be 9, so it'll be plus 9. So those are the type of thinking strategies I do in my head so I can get my computations a little bit faster. Okay, it's all about what skills are you doing. Okay, and I know that'll simplify to 2, so this will be 2. Oh, I pointed to it. All right, this one's a little funky one. Okay, and I'll show you how to check this out. So we're going to do x and y. And I have negative 1, negative 16. And then I have negative 1 and negative 11. Okay, so now I know that my x values repeat, so it's not a function. So therefore, I know in my head this is going to be undefined, but I want to see and check with my calculator just to make sure. So I grab my calculator. I press stat, enter. I clear my previous tables that I had. Go down, go across, go up, go down. And then I plug this in. So it's negative 1, enter, negative 1, enter. And then we go across and we do negative 16 and 11. And then I do stat, calc, for, enter, 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 enter. And you see we get arrow domain. That's because it is not a function. So the value entered is not allowed in the function because it's not a function. It actually tells you on the calculator. So therefore, it's going to be undefined. All right, and then this one here, set up the tiny table. Negative 2, negative 7, 3, negative 10. Okay, this would be minus 3 because we're getting bigger negative. And then this one would be, so negative 2 to 0, that'll be 2 points, plus 3 more, so that'll be 5. So I know my change in y is going to be negative 3. I'm just going to put negative 3 over 5 because at this point you should know my strategy. And this would be b. All right, if you are confused, you can review this. I'm going to clear my whole thing out. So we'll clear it out, and we're going to do 9 and 10. So if you need to go back and look at 1 through 8, go back and review. Now, here, same thing. I'm going to make a tiny table to the side. Now, you don't even have to. Here, negative 8 to 0 is 8. And then this is 4. And this is also 4. This one is going to be 6. This is 3. And this is also 3. So if I look 3, that's my change in y. And 4 is my change in x. My slope is going to be 3/4. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to be adding 1 each time. 1, 1. Okay, this one I'm subtracting 2 each time. Minus 2. Minus 2. So my slope is going to be negative 2. Now, if you want to use a calculator, that's perfectly fine. I'm doing this one by hand. Here, minus 1. Minus 1. Minus 1. So when change in y, it's going to be negative 1. Then we're going up 5. 5. 5. So my slope is going to be negative 1/5. Okay. This one, 4. We're adding 4. Okay. Then this one's a bigger jump, negative 23 to 7. So that one's not as clear. So I know like 21 is 14 points away from negative 7. So that's going to be 2 more. So that's going to be 16. So I know we're adding 16 here. Okay, so I did that mentally. You can do that too. This is plus 4. Now we're going to here. So this is plus 1. This is plus 4. And then this is also going to be plus 1. So we have 4 over 16 and 1/4. And I know these are equivalent because 1 times 4 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So my slope is going to be 4 over 1, which is going to be 4. Okay? That is a 4. I apologize for the terrible handwriting. All right. So now that we got that, go ahead, pause it if you want to. I'm going to go to the graph. So I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to go scroll up to the graphs. Graphs are quite simple. You just have to figure out where the pretty points are. So I know there's a pretty point here, and there's a pretty point here. And then I just do my rise over run. I'm rising 1, and I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 1, my run is 4, therefore my slope is 1/4, and it's also a positive slope because it is going this way. Okay, this one is undefined because it's straight up and down. If you're not sure, find Mr. Slopeman. He's somewhere in your room. And if you look at his nose, you know it's straight up and down. Therefore, it's undefined. This one is a negative slope. If you look at Slopeman's eye to the right, you'll see it's going down. It's negative. So I find 2 pretty points. I find a pretty point here, and there's a pretty point here. Okay, that might not be the closest ones, but oh well. So I'm rising 4. And I'm running 2. So my slope is going to be negative 4 over 2, which simplifies down to just negative 2, which will be my slope. Okay, and then this one. This one, let's look at how they're being numbered. Check out they're being numbered. They're going up by 10, so this is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're going up by 10s, this is going to be rising 40. Now this one's just going up by 1. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's correct. So I'm running 5. And it's negative slope because it's going down this way. So we have negative 40 over 50, which will simplify down to negative 8. And negative 8 would be my slope. Okay? Now the word problems. Now we just have to figure out which one is a slope. And to figure out which one is a slope, you got to look for things like each, per, weekly, monthly, ly words, okay? So the water level in Noah's water tank is 72 inches high. So that's the starting point because it's starting at 72 inches. So that's the y-intercept. That's not the slope. Noah begins to drain the tank by opening the valve. The water drains at a speed of 5 inches per minute. Because it has that per minute, that means every minute it's going up 5 inches. And that's going to be my rate, draining 5 inches. And that's going to be my rate of change. So because it's draining, it's going to be negative 5, which is the slope. Okay? I'm going to go through the other ones a little bit faster. Okay? A pet store is selling puppies, $50 each plus $14.99. Because we have this each next to 50, we know that's the slope. So the 50 is going to be the slope. Okay? A small bookstore is selling copies of the book To Kill a Mockingbird for $6.99 each plus 99 cents for shipping and handling. So this each is going to represent the slope. So I know my slope is going to be 6.99. And now, to rent movies from a store, a person has to pay on an annual membership of $20 plus $2.50 for each. That word each there. So therefore my slope is 2.50. Right? Hopefully this helps. Go on to the next station.